Cannabis Tech Talks. We're chopping it up with Chuck, and I am here with Chris Day from MJBiz. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. We're wrapping up the show.
How's it been?
It's been great. We've had some great growth this year. I love the city of New Orleans, so it's always fun to work with the local community as well. And so we've been able to do some new things in that aspect. And now we're getting ready, for the next ones.
Yeah, and they're always right around the corner, aren't they?
Now they are.
Yeah.
Didn't used to be.
Yeah.
Used to be you could take a couple weeks off and move on to the next one, but no, now it's a perpetual motion machine.
Well, we've heard the feedback that we've heard has been tremendous from this event.
Great.
First and foremost, a lot of business being done.
Yeah.
And that's important to the exhibitors. Also, like you mentioned earlier, it's grown a lot from last year, hasn't it?
It has.
Yeah.
It has. And we added the Hemp Industry Daily Conference. That's our sister publication. So we added that component to MJBizCoN NEXT this time around. And of course, with the passage of the Farm Bill not too long ago, that whole landscape has changed. So it's really been nice to be on the forefront of both what everybody thinks of when they talk about the cannabis industry and that hemp component, which has come on strong.
But that's something that you guys have always been a little bit on the forefront, right? I mean, you guys
we
were out
hope
ahead
so.
of...
If we're not, we're late.
Yeah.
Why
New Orleans? I mean, is the obvious reason just because it's a great place and people love to go for a conference, or
that's the easy answer?
Yeah.
I mean, there is
the big easy.
Yes. There is also an additional sort of expansion on that. The name of the conference is MJBizCoN NEXT, right? So it's really about what's coming down the pike and where is the industry going. So you see that throughout the show floor and who's talking and the content. But additionally, if you look at regions of the country that are yet to emerge or are emerging, we have MJBizCon, we've got MJBizCon International in Toronto, but NEXT serves this additional purpose of helping tell the business side of the story to places that maybe aren't hearing it quite as clearly yet.
Right.
Nobody else other than Marijuana Business Daily is going to put their conference here. But frankly, I love New Orleans.
Yeah.
The conference does great. And we see so much local support here in New Orleans, from the state, from surrounding states. And so when people ask me that question, I get excited because I'm like, we are charting new waters.
Yeah.
And all of the people that are here that I talked to a nice guy yesterday from Alabama, and we were talking about his operation and sort of how he's progressing through. If we don't do it, who will?
Yeah.
And I think people come in droves.
Yeah.
To make that kind of impact.
So do you live in Colorado?
I live in Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do I. We're based out of there as well. And there we're kind of desensitized to the whole cannabis industry because it's not new anymore, right? Like we're old pros. But here, when you talk to people out on the streets and stuff, and they say, "What are you here for?" They say, "A cannabis conference." They're like curious. They're like, "Really? What's that all about?" It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's yes, it is. I was born in Michigan, grew up in New Mexico.
Okay.
Went to school in Colorado, and then went to Texas for a decade and a half, and came back to Colorado. That 15 years I was out of Colorado is when everything shifted, legalization happened, and I was living in the South.
Yeah.
And so I think I come at it personally with a multifaceted perspective. I mean, I used to come to New Orleans for family vacations.
Sure.
And back to San Antonio. And I still go down there, and they'll invite me to talk to different groups about the marketing of the legal marijuana industry.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to watch people come in because they think they're going to hear one kind of talk.
Sure.
And then I'm talking to them about brand architecture and marketing funnels and how this all works. And it blows their mind because they're like, yeah, but we just decriminalized this thing in these cities, right? And they don't even know what that means.
Right.
So it's fun to watch. Denver is a bubble for sure.
It is.
So is places like Portland, and but getting out of that, we get to work together and make a difference, not only here in the U.S. but around the world.
Sure. Okay, everybody, we're going to take a quick break here, but we just wanted to remind you that this episode of Cannabis and Tech Talks is brought to you by STM Canna, your source for some of the best tech in the cannabis industry, including the Rocket Box and the new grinder, the Revolution. And if you wouldn't mind, can you just speak to briefly, I noticed you had a little focus on sustainability here at the event, and can you just kind of, it feels like that's a trend that's building up, in the industry, the importance of sustainability. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah, there's a line in that booth that I really like, and it says, a sustainable business is a profitable business.
Yeah.
Right? And when you look at legal operators in states across the country, cultivators, it really is a margins business at this point, right?
Sure.
Like if you're not paying attention to your margins and the productivity of your grow and how you handle waste and manage water and electricity, you are going to go out of business.
You're going the way of the dodo bird.
Yep. So there is that sort of practical, rational perspective of you've got to manage your business in a responsible way to be successful. And then there's the emotional side, which is, shouldn't you be responsible with the planet that we all live on, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of industries out there which you're coming into something that's been around for hundreds of years and you're trying to change minds and all that. The sort of ongoing rise of the cannabis industry, we're in a position now where we can build the industry from where we are today, which is very nascent, with these types of things.
It's our sandbox.
At the heart of it.
Yeah.
That's why we've got our whole industry give back program.
Yeah.
It's like, let's be responsible about sustainability. Let's look at diversity and inclusion issues from the beginning. Legalization, certainly we still need to support that and continue to move that forward, but our industry give back program is about providing, additional voice to folks where we can, and that booth in particular is partnered with an organization called the Resource Innovation Institute. Derek Smith is their executive director, and he's been over there all week talking to people, and he's like, man, all of a sudden waste is the big topic. A couple years ago it was water. This week it's been all about waste and how we manage that. So it's interesting. It is certainly a hot topic, as are all those others I mentioned.
Yeah, it's cool though that you're kind of being the tip of the spear with regard to this, because you're obviously one of if not the most influential event in the space. You are. Let's be honest. And the fact that this is something that's important to you just shows that, again, it seems like you guys are kind of ahead of the curve. And other industries like sustainability, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it wasn't that big of a deal. A chief sustainability officer was just someone that you had in a company or whatever. And now,
they signed some papers. We got that over there.
They had a recycling program or something like that, Bike to Work Day. Now, like you said earlier, sustainability is strategic. And it's bottom line oriented in a lot of industries. I think it's really cool that we're focusing on it here in this industry.
Yeah, but don't fool yourself either.
Yeah.
Like, there are still a huge number of people who like to talk. But not take the walk.
Call that greenwashing,
So, and but I think that is because they look at it and they see it's a popular thing to say, but they don't actually know how to execute.
Yeah.
Right? So they say, yes, I care about it.
Sure.
Please don't ask me any questions.
Yeah.
Right? And in this case, we can both care about it and provide people with tools and resources to act on it.
Nice.
Well,
it has been a pleasure to speak with you. The event was dynamite. All the feedback we got was really, really good. Is there anything that surprised you from this event? Anything that you were pleasantly surprised with, or?
Not surprised, but I am always happy to see the industry come together, because we're not successful without the rest of the industry continuing to believe that they can come to our events, connect, make business happen, that we are not just throwing a show, but that we are indeed part of the industry with them. So it's not a surprise. I've been doing these enough now that I understand that is not only great, but it's a great responsibility.
Yeah.
And so we take that seriously.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Chris. Really appreciate your time.
Thank
and
you.
We'll see you at the next event.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Cannabis and Tech Talks. If you like this podcast, make sure that you subscribe and share with your friends. And if you're interested in being featured on Cannabis and Tech Talks or being an advertiser or a partner in our award-winning magazine, Cannabis and Tech Today, give us a shout and we will help tell your story to tens of thousands of cannabis industry influencers.